Hey guys, what's up? So this is Worldwide Technology 4.5 Criterium, and this was my second ever crit race. This one I thought would suit me really well because it's super flat and the super easy corners. So I thought, yeah, this should be perfect. It was a windy, cold morning. This was about 8:45, 9 o'clock, something like that. Pretty cool, pretty windy, but conditions overall were really good. So this race was won by a young man who happened to sign up in front of me. Because of COVID, we had to stand in line for about 45 minutes to sign up, which I thought was kind of weird. And while we were waiting to sign up, I heard the guy in front of me who happened to win the race talk about how he was avoiding catting up because he was signed up for Tulsa and wanted to win the Cat 5 in Tulsa. So just, which I mean, I'm not really judging anybody on that. I don't really care. But I feel like that was one of the reasons why this race was so fast. I think quite a few of the guys in the front are probably more than capable of riding in a faster category. Plus 4.5, some of us like me, not that fast, pretty out of shape, pretty fat. And we're riding with guys that are in really good shape. So a couple things I wanted to do different. First off, I tried to line up closer, so I'm about in the middle of the pack. We're not supposed to line up too close to people, and I left this big gap, and I noticed that I didn't really pick a good person to be in front of. I wanted to also try to be more efficient, so I wanted to try to make sure I was trying to draft behind some bigger guys, and there were several bigger guys in this. I was probably not the biggest guy in this race. And some of these big guys were really pretty strong riders. I kept seeing one dude at the front just drilling it. So let's go on to the start. Okay, here we go. So they announced right before the start that we were neutral to the first corner. And I'm not sure what first corner that was, but I was expecting neutral, so I wasn't quite ready. I didn't get a very good job clipped in, so I just lost about, 20 positions or something there. This guy in front of me was a bigger dude, but he was super strong, and I ended up trying to draft him some and stay with him, but he kept moving through the pack. So as you can kind of see here, we're on this race course. It's a really great road conditions, so much room. You could have easily had half this amount of road room and probably had a pretty good crit. So one of the things I was trying to remember to do is just be more like active and trying to stay with people and avoid what I'm doing right now, which is to just kind of not have anything but a big gap in front of me. I know that made a huge difference on my first race. I was never really truly doing a very good job getting in drafts. I don't have any video of that first race, but I made it 16 minutes. So this guy was a great just dude to hook up with, and the guy on the left over there, I saw him. There was some people, and that guy, I don't know, maybe just for fun or maybe that's how he races, but he was moving up and down the pack a lot, the guy on that funky multicolored bike. And it was really easy to move up and down the pack if you had the fitness and you wanted to, because there was always tons more room. So this is the only really sketchy thing that happened. That kid right there just slid sideways. I think he maybe bumped the dude in the green jacket. I'm not sure. But there was some cussing and stuff like that. I saw the Kingdom Coffee guy. He just evaded like he was like super ready for it. I was watching it happen, and I didn't really feel like it was that dangerous. Well, hello, cat. I didn't really feel like it was that dangerous, but it could have been a pile-up on the first corner. Seriously, on the first corner. Now, that kid, I ended up riding with him quite a bit. It seemed like I know people were trying to avoid him, like after that, we're probably like 2/3 of the way down the pack now. So this is definitely some of the, I think, less experienced and more sketchy riders. So the wind at this point was about 15 miles per hour, kind of out of the south, coming almost directly from the grandstand. And here we are a little bit later into that first lap, getting ready to finish the first lap, across the finish line. And for some reason, it just seemed like everything kind of got slow, and I could just easily, and I was like, well, I'll just move up a bunch of spaces here. You can see, and there's a guy over there on the left getting ready to, I don't know, go out and attack or something. So I noticed I never really was close enough to really see exactly what was going on up front, but I noticed several times people would try to go off and kind of make a breakaway, and I don't think any of them ever stuck very far. You can see the guy in the pink socks way over there, greenish pink socks on the far right. He's a big dude, and this guy was like hauling at the front. And I noticed too, he's like setting up a lot. He didn't seem to be in that arrow position. I'm on the drops pretty much this whole race, and I mean I was just suffering. That dude there, he was a bigger dude, and he was hauling, and I saw him throughout the race. So this was definitely a race that a bigger guy could do well in, because you really never had to stop pedaling. There was no real sprints out of the corners, because the corners were just so much more round. You know, there was, I would say farther back you might have had to slow down, but it seems like where I was through here, it was doing well. Now this dude here, that kid there with the green sleeves, I'm directly behind, he's the sketchy kid, and he had a very he's the one who's, locked his brakes up and slid sideways at the first corner, and you can see through here. I was definitely nervous. I was like, oh man, I don't want to be too close to him, because he was a little. I thought he was a little sketchier than some of the other riders. He was just kind of more, a little bit more back and forth, on and off the pedals more. But he definitely a strong rider. I mean, he's up here, but yeah, he's kind of just, I don't know. He just made me nervous. So at this point, I remember thinking, I'm going to let him go a little bit. Plus, he's a tiny dude, so I didn't think I was getting much draft off him anyway. But I don't know. He was just making me nervous, and I really wanted to be in front of him or farther behind him, because he just, already won one strike against him on that first corner. The wind was so confusing, because it, in a crit anyway, you're getting out of the wind quite a bit. But it was so strong, and then you'd have a tailwind, you'd have a headwind, and this course, it's not like a rectangle. It just kind of winds back and forth in the inside road course. And I don't know, it just never really seemed to be, I never could really figure out where I should be. I know there's places where it was going to be better to be on the inside, places where it's better to be on the outside of people, but I was really just in survival mode. I was just hanging on. I mean, my heart rate was pretty much 168, 169, 170 throughout this whole thing. But I was really happy, because I was hanging on, and I felt like I was at least in the race, so that was good. We'll finish up this lap, and then we'll go ahead and see what it looks like on down the race here a little bit. I remember thinking I was going to try that whole move up on the left side thing again, but it wasn't slowing down this time. It was fast, and it seemed fairly easy, but see, I think the grandstand's blocking all the wind right here, so if you want to move up, it's a good place to move up, as these two guys are doing here. And this was some of the closest I raced with people, and I really felt comfortable. I mean, like, I know, like, I don't know, it just never seemed like I was ever really in any danger. The riders around me were pretty predictable, and I don't know, it really didn't seem nearly as scary as I thought it was going to be. See, there's a couple of riders off the front right now, and I think they're going for, breakaways, and I think they get reeled in pretty quick here. I don't think anybody was going to stay away on this kind of course. I mean, it's just not technical enough. There's really no reason to slow down. Right now we're in the tailwind, and this was the attack zone. I didn't realize it when I was racing it. I never really got a hang of what was going on. But there goes that guy. This is the tailwind section right now, and you can see he's just floating away. So this was a good place to move up if you had to get into the wind through this tailwind section. So as the race continued, the only really squirrely part was this part right here. And I think what's going on is the front of the race comes out right about now, you know, from the grandstand, and they hit a lot of headwind and they're tireder now. And when they hit that headwind, they slow down, and all the rest of us kind of end up plowing into, you know, not plowing into them, but kind of having to slow down. And there's a little bit of that accordion effect there, and there's some braking and stuff going on. And I remember several times through here people saying, hey guys, stop braking, stop braking. But I also noticed 2 or 3 times within this race where, you know, an older guy would come up, you know, kind of beside one of the younger guys and be like, hey buddy, you got to try to stay off that brake. I mean, it was a whole lot more friendly than I thought it was going to be. I mean, people were far more relaxed than I expected. I mean, as far as like cussing and shouting and stuff like that during the race. I mean, it was more or less silent, which I really appreciated because, you know, nobody wants to be, I don't know, cussed at in their first race. Okay, now we're about 25, I think, minutes or so into the race, and this is where the wheels start to come off for me. As you can see, I'm not holding the wheel. Now, if you look over to the right, you're going to see a group of guys. Look at these guys coming through here on the right. I didn't realize that. That's lap traffic. We have lapped a group of riders, and I did not realize that. But these guys were like, when they come by, I thought they were guys that had come off of the front and had died. And I remember thinking to myself, well, if those guys have come off the front and died, then it's probably about time for me to die too. And they were actually lap traffic. I had lapped those guys. I know I looked at them on Strava, and they were turning like 21 mile an hour laps while we were doing like 25 mile an hour laps. So, but this dude right here, he didn't hold the wheel. And then I remember this guy on my right here, long-haired dude. I was like, okay, guys, I'm going to get us back up there, you know, and I'm like, oh man, this was so hard because, I mean, it was like pretty much a max effort. I mean, since they didn't hold the wheel, I had to get us back up there. And so I went all out, and I'm closing the gap, and I'm thinking to myself, oh man, I'm such an awesome racer. I'm closing the gap. I'm getting myself back up there. I'm hauling these 2 guys with me. There's Kingdom Coffee dude, who I know is a strong racer. I just had a good feeling about him. He's up here. This guy on the purple bike up here, he is super fast. I don't know his name, but he won the next race I did in a solo breakaway. So, I mean, obviously he's super strong. But as you can see, I'm blown out now, and I got very little recovery. I'm struggling to get on wheels and hold them. And I remember, like, I was, you know, breathing. I was maxed out breathing. I could not catch my breath. And I thought, well, maybe if things slow down, I'll recover a little bit. I just needed some recovery. That effort, you know, to drag myself back up to that pace. I think I was going like 27 or something through there. The effort to drag myself back up there was just more than I could really handle. But I remember thinking to myself, I was gonna be okay. You know, I'm back on the pack. I'm gonna be okay. I'm getting by. And then this guy, he's not. And then this is where I quit right here. When that guy, I was like, okay. And then I see these 2 guys up on the left. I don't know if they're coming off the front, but I thought to myself, well, I'm going to get down on my most arrow tuck, and I'm going to try to pull myself back up there. And, you know, I was going to make an effort to get myself back up there, going all out. I thought, man, I've done it. I've pulled myself back up. I've made it. And for whatever stupid reason, I got up off my super arrow position, the banned super arrow position. I don't know. I guess I was okay using that. But I got out of my arrow position right about the time we hit that headwind. And I think I was just so hurting so bad. And I thought I was going to make contact. But for some reason, I set up before I got a chance to really get in the draft. So I'm still really not getting any draft here. And I'm still trying to catch the pack. And you can see the pack's getting splintered. But I didn't realize this. Like, this is really close to the end of the race. If I had just been a little more up front where I hadn't got dropped a couple times and not had to do all these crazy hard efforts in the just pure wind trying to catch back on, then I think I would have finished this race in the top, I don't know, 20. I mean, honestly, I'm really thinking I was doing good here. And I remember at this point, I was like, I gave up. This is the give up point right here. I watched the pack right away. I set up. My speed drops down from like 25 to like 18 at this point, and I just set up. And at this point, I could not catch my breath. Everything just hurt really, really bad. And I was happy. I remember being happy with myself. I was like, well, I made it 30 minutes. I think this was about 30 minutes into the race at this point. And yeah, I thought for a minute, I was like, well, I'm just going to hang on and try to finish the race. But like any effort here was just wiping me out. And I started thinking to myself, well, the best thing to do would just be to quit. The thing is, I really don't know how crit races work at this point, so I just thought as soon as you got dropped off the pack, you were supposed to quit. Like, I got pulled at the Forest Park crit, and I assumed that if you weren't on the pack, you needed to quit. And when these two guys come around, I was thinking, well, I could hang on to them and we could ride together. But they were sort of saying the same thing. They're like, well, I guess we need to pull ourselves now that we've been dropped. But we actually just needed to finish the race. So they didn't pull anybody from this race course. This race course was safe enough. I guess they considered just race and ride, and everything's fine. And which, you know, really it was. I mean, there was no reason to pull anybody from this race course. But I had listened to these two guys, and they were both like, hey, we're done. And at this point, you know, I was like, okay, I'm done too. And I pulled in with them, and we went up and told the official we were dropping. And that was stupid because we would have probably made top 30 if we just rode together, because at this point we were, I think, quite a bit ahead of people.